Yes, women in ancient Greece and Rome did wear the veil. This comes as a surprise for a lot of people because we've associated veiling with Islam in the Middle East. But this was not only a common practice in the Greco-Roman world, but in medieval European society as well. We know that veiling was practiced in Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. Assyrian law codes from 1200 BC describe the reasoning behind it. Veiling was a way of distinguishing between high-status women and low-status women like slaves and prostitutes who were not allowed to wear it. And the same phenomenon existed in ancient Greece. The Pharaohs was the most common style of veiling worn by Greek women. It was loose and was pretty easy to move in. The Lithma was another popular style, but it was wrapped around the body a bit tighter. Indoors, women wore a more casual style called the Hematian. They could use it as a hoodie to cover their hair in case of a male visitor. Later on during the Roman era, the practice would evolve. Veiling was used as a way to distinguish between married women who would go out with the veil and unmarried women who would go out without the veil. A married woman going out in public without her veil could be interpreted as her denying her husband or becoming available in the market. And this was serious business. There's an instance of a Roman consul named Sulpicius Gallus divorcing his wife because she left the house unveiled. The traditional Roman clothing was a stola, which was a long sleeveless tunic, and the pela, which was a shawl that could be used to cover the head and the body. In Roman weddings, the bride wore a bright-colored veil called the flammeum. Vestal virgins also wore a special veil. They were powerful priestesses in charge of maintaining Rome's sacred flame. With all this in mind, we realize that when early church fathers wrote about the importance of veiling in Christianity, it was already an established practice in the ancient world. Later on, during the medieval era, European women would cover their hair using a large draped piece of cloth named the wimple. Wealthy and fashionable women, on the other hand, would wear an interesting headdress named the hennin. In the 16th century, hoods would become popular amongst noble women from Western Europe. For example, this is a gable hood worn by Anne Boleyn. And let's not forget peasant women who wore a bonnet when performing daily tasks. Now, after the 17th century, hats would be introduced and head coverings would morph into more of a hair accessory than an actual veil. Although in rural areas and in places of worship, veiling would still be common practice even up until recently. Today, of course, veiling is heavily politicized and sometimes even considered as being alien to Western culture. So it's quite interesting to look at history and realize that it wasn't always the case.